Inflation has impacted a lot of what we buy, and now that most of the stimulus money has moved through the system, we are facing higher costs. And that's going to have an impact on several different industries in pretty much every market, and the airlines are no exception. They are not immune. Delta lays off some corporate workers to cut costs. Cost pressures are mounting for airlines. Airlines experiencing technical issues disrupting operations. Airlines' frequent flyer programs come under intense fire and scrutiny. Senators question airline frequent flyer programs, citing reports of unfair practices, and two flight attendants sue United Airlines after being removed from charter flight. However, my reasoning behind why I'm choosing to focus on these airlines and their potential financial struggles and economic woes is because I anticipate that we may witness the first major airlines beginning to furlough pilots in the coming year, which is quite unexpected when compared to just a few years ago. Because you see, not so long ago, there was actually an airline pilot shortage. And in certain instances and for certain airlines, that's still the case today. And this problem isn't only isolated to commercial flights or passenger airlines. No. According to a recent report by Reuters, UPS, one of the companies that I was referring to earlier in the intro of this video that would be affected by the economic swing that this country is beginning to have to find a way to struggle through, is facing some financial difficulties themselves and has requested 167 pilots to retire early. Now, I think it's important to distinguish between early retirements and furloughs. So you see, early retirements typically apply to pilots who are 62 years of age and older. These early retirement packages were extremely popular just a few years ago when they were being offered during the C-19 pandemic, back when the future was uncertain, which is ironic to say that when you think about it. The future is pretty much always uncertain, but back then it was just really, really uncertain. And honestly, right now, I have to say that the only certainty is that the future is going to bring some of the most unique and intense financial and economic struggles that we have ever seen. In fact, have never seen to this degree. It's going to be epic. And in contrast, furloughs involve basically being temporarily laid off, more or less, basically. Furloughs were prevalent back during the last crash, if you guys remember, in 2008 to 2010. And odds are you probably heard or read about it because pilots losing their jobs often make significant headlines due to their high-profile status and substantial income that they earn. But I digress. It's essential to recognize the broader impact on the aviation industry since many people work behind the scenes to support these pilots. And ultimately, with less pilots, then that can only mean less of the other people who would be behind the scenes to support the pilots. Let's describe this as the trickle-down effect of Biden economics. Yeah. Now, historically, cargo flying has been more stable than passenger flying, and this stability is attributed to the consistent demand for the transportation of freight. Cargo pilots often play a crucial role in ensuring that goods, including perishable items and essential electronics, reach their destinations quickly and on time. And even though cargo flying may lack the glamour of passenger flying, it remains a staple and once stable and essential sector of the aviation industry. I mean, it did back then. Because today, the recent challenges faced by UPS may serve as an early warning of potential difficulties in the industry as a whole. The company's financial situation has deteriorated with decreasing revenue and plummeting profits. And while cargo revenue has been a reliable income source for many, many years, various factors are contributing to this decline. One such factor is the reduced cargo movement caused by increased student loan payments, which have redirected consumers' spending. Yep, that's right. Student loan payments are quite possibly going to be the final death blow to so many different people and so many different industries. And so many different jobs that may end up forcing the Fed's hand after the pain and panic of a deep recession begins to set in. Additionally, cargo airlines have experienced reductions in revenue due to contractual agreements made during the pandemic. And in some cases, airlines were unsure when passenger flying would even resume, but they still had to fulfill previously signed contracts. Man, oh man. The contractual obligations during the coronavirus time were a real mess. And the only real saving grace at the time was a combination of government-backed CARES Act aid, stimulus, paycheck, PPPs, EIDL loans, and force majeure clauses in contracts. But let's be honest, all any of that ever did really was buy you some time. Eventually the bill would be due, and thus here we are today, unfortunately. And in the case of UPS and other freight carriers, their results will end up landing them in deep worry and financial stress, potential bankruptcy after more than likely a series of layoff rounds and attempts at restructuring. But let's face it, they're all experiencing the same challenges and struggles, and we will soon likely hear all about it in the news just before it begins to permeate into the commercial and passenger airline industry. UPS in particular has been and still is facing a drop in profit and revenue, and supply chain shortages aren't to blame either, or not even capable of being the possible scapegoat this time. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised we made it this long, really. The state of the nation and our fragile economy is telling, for sure. I mean, Black Friday literally started yesterday on November 1, and this isn't to improve the holiday shopping experience for consumers, but instead to try and drum up any and all sales these retailers can get from the working class and middle class folks out there who can barely rub two pennies together as it is. And the high income earners are being very careful and cautious with where their discretionary spending, or better yet, savings, goes. And odds are it won't be in the hands of Walmart, Target, Hermes, YSL, Rolex, or any other wasteful expenditure. It's time to tighten up and batten down. Things are on track to get really, really ugly soon. And this is before a true declaration of war has been made, one that actually includes U.S. armed forces. Because if tensions continue to escalate the way Nate over on Canadian Prepper predicts, then people are not going to be even close to being prepared for the shit that's about to hit the fan. Trust me. Great show there, by the way, Nate. I don't know how you're able to stay on top of it all, but I really do appreciate all that you do for us. God bless you, bro. But also, it's crucial to understand that pilots opting for early retirement are not leaving without compensation. So that is a plus, okay? Airlines like Delta or United, Spirit, Southwest, these airlines, they pay them to leave. And with that being said, airlines generally prioritize retaining their more experienced pilots. So in turn, that means that the junior pilots are at a much higher risk of temporary furloughs, i.e. unemployment. However, some passenger airlines are actively hiring pilots right now, which provides some opportunities for those who may be affected. Now, I believe this is going to be similar to the business decisions that I shared with you guys on previous videos about how companies and employers are going to try to regain their strength and position now that the pandemic is technically over and they can get back to normal operating procedures where they can pay employees less money. However, in order to do that, they're going to need to incentivize employees to take less money. And this can look like a temporary furlough or an early retirement, and essentially then rehire new or returning talent at a much lower cost or operating cost for the business. Keep the overhead low. But trust me, folks, it's all by design. And so despite the historical stability of cargo flying, the current situation in the industry is changing. The reduction in cargo demand is affecting cargo pilots, and even large cargo airlines like Western Global have already declared bankruptcy. While the financial challenges of a giant like UPS may not lead to bankruptcy, the overall impact on the industry could be very significant. And now would be as best of a time as ever to make sure that we are all prepared for what this significant industry impact could look like and ultimately mean for us all before it's too late. And I feel very strongly that the full extent of the situation will become clearer in early 2024 when the financial reports are released. Until then, the industry remains in a state of uncertainty, and I think it will be very interesting to see how the aviation sector adapts to these recent changes. And I will continue to closely follow the developments and bring you updates along the way. If you enjoy these videos and these informative industry updates and market analysis and financial and personal finance and economic news, then by all means, feel free, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and come on back for the next one. I'll see you guys real soon.